The storm arrived without warning. Heavy rain hammered the diner windows as if the sky itself was crying. Inside, where mornings were usually filled with voices and warm chatter, only one man sat alone with a plate of food he had struggled to afford: Rowan Hale. A single father with tired eyes and rough hands had finally saved enough money to buy a real breakfast after weeks of eating cheap instant noodles. He was about to take his first bite when he saw her. She stumbled into the diner like a ghost, pushed in by the storm-soaking wet, shaking, her hair stuck to her cheeks. A woman whose pain filled the whole room before she even spoke. Her clothes were ripped, her lips were pale, and when the waitress asked what she needed, she whispered a single word so softly that the rain almost drowned it out. "Help, please." If you believe kindness still matters in this world and that second chances can save lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us bring more inspiring, heart-touching stories to the world. Rowan didn't know what made him stand up. Maybe instinct. Maybe her pain reminded him of his own. Or maybe it was something his little daughter, Mira, once told him. "Daddy, helping someone is like giving them your sunshine, whatever the reason." Rowan walked toward the stranger with his warm plate in his hands. He set it down in front of her gently. "Here," he said softly. "You need this more than I do." Her fingers trembled as she reached for the sandwich. She didn't just look hungry, she looked broken. Tears escaped her eyes as she ate, mixing with the raindrops still clinging to her skin. A tight knot formed in Rowan's chest. He sat across from her, not touching his drink, just making sure she didn't collapse. Eventually, she whispered her name, Ara. Just that. No background, no explanation, nothing about where she came from or why she looked like someone running for her life. Rowan didn't push. He knew the silence that trauma brings. He had lived in it himself after Mira's mother died and left him drowning in grief, and bills he could barely pay. When Ara finished eating, she didn't move. She stared at the empty wrapper as if afraid that standing up would make the small bit of safety she found disappear. The storm outside calmed, but her breathing stayed uneven and shallow. Rowan called Mira's school to say he'd be late picking her up. Then he offered Ara his jacket, even though it would leave him cold. When she tried to refuse, he gently wrapped it around her shoulders anyway. Surprise flickered across her face, like kindness was something she hadn't seen in years. They sat together for almost an hour in the quiet hum of the diner. Slowly, Ara began to relax, though fear still lived behind her eyes. She told Rowan she had no money, no phone, nothing except a small camera she held as if it were her last piece of identity. Rowan offered to drive her somewhere safe, but she tensed and shook her head quickly. He didn't push. Instead, he gave her all the change he had left so she could buy another meal later, even though that meant he would need to skip dinner. She whispered, "Thank you," in a voice that cracked like broken glass. When she finally stood to leave, Rowan felt an unexpected fear, like she was walking back into danger he couldn't protect her from. At the door, she looked back once, her eyes shining with an emotion he didn't understand. Then she disappeared. He never saw her again, not that day, not that week, not even that month. But what happened next changed everything. 3 weeks later, Rowan received a letter fancy, embossed, the kind of envelope he'd only seen in movies. His stomach twisted. Lawyers don't send letters to struggling single dads unless something serious is happening. Hands shaking. He opened it. Inside was a short message. "Mr. Hale, we request your presence at the Venn and Alder firm regarding Miss Ara Venn." Ara, the woman from the diner. His heart pounded. Why lawyers? Had something happened to her? Was she hurt? Was he the last person who saw her safe? Fear hit him hard, but he had to know. The next morning, after dropping Mira at school, he took the bus across the city to a tall glass building that made him feel small. Everyone inside wore suits. Floors gleamed. Everything felt too perfect. And there he was, jeans-worn jacket, calloused hands. An assistant led him into a quiet meeting room. Rowan clenched his fists to hide the shaking. Two attorneys entered with a thick folder. Mr. Hale. The older one said, "We represent Ms. Aravin." Rowan leaned forward. "Is she okay?" "She is safe," the attorney answered gently. "Thanks in large part to you." Relief crashed into him, leaving him breathless. But confusion followed fast. "I don't understand. Why am I here?" The lawyers exchanged a look before sliding a photograph toward him. Rowan stared, Era smiling brightly, dressed in elegant clothes, standing in front of a famous art gallery. "That's not Rowan," stuttered. "She looked nothing like this." The lawyer nodded. "Ms. Venn is a renowned photographer and the heir to a major family trust. But she suffered severe trauma after a violent attempt to exploit her work. She ran away, refused help, and lived in dangerous conditions until she met you." Rowan felt the room tilt. "But she looked homeless, terrified." "She was," the lawyer said softly. "Trauma can break anyone, no matter how wealthy." The younger attorney leaned forward. "She told us that when she had nothing, not even hope, you were the only person who treated her with kindness." Rowan swallowed. "Anyone would have helped." "Most people didn't," she replied. "Only you." The older lawyer opened the folder and pushed several documents toward him. "Ms. Venn left these for you. She is checked into a private recovery center and won't be reachable. But before she left, she wanted to honor the kindness you showed her." "What is this?" Rowan asked, voice unsteady. "A full financial grant," the attorney explained. "In your name and your daughter's. Enough for stable housing, childcare, and 3 years of living expenses while you pursue any education or career you want." Rowan's breath caught. This can't be real," she said. The lawyer continued. "He gave me a meal when I felt like a ghost, so I want to give him back his future." Rowan looked away as his eyes filled with tears. A simple breakfast, something he barely afforded, had changed the course of someone's life. And now she had changed his. He left the law firm, trembling, holding the folder like it carried new hope. Outside, sunlight spread across the city, warm, steady, full of promise. For the first time in years, Rowan didn't feel crushed by worry. He felt grateful, responsible, determined to honor the second chance. I've given him. In the months that followed, life changed quietly but beautifully. Rowan and Mira moved into a safe apartment, no leaks, no broken walls. He enrolled in a technical drafting program, something he once dreamed of but never thought he could afford. Mira blossomed new friends, new confidence, new joy. Sometimes Rowan returned to the diner and sat in the same seat where he had met Ara, wondering if she might one day return, healed and smiling. He didn't know if he would ever see her again. But he did know one thing: kindness can bridge the space between despair and hope, even when no one is watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us continue bringing powerful stories that remind the world compassion still matters.